the topic that I'm quite passionate about is the power of culture in design and crafting brand stories. But before I deep dive into it, I want to take a step back. And since you're speaking about culture, I want to take you guys on a journey about my own life and my own history and where I come from and what's my culture, where I belong. I was very privileged to be born in a small-paced, small town called Lakhimpur in UP to a set of very creative parents. And that's my parents, by the way. And that's a picture that my dad took of me when I was very young. He's a very creative person and he loved to take pictures and he also paints. He's not a trained artist, but yeah, he loves to paint. So that's actually his painting that he made of Lakhimpur railway station, and apparently a very old one. But yeah, I love it. So it's something that I hold very dear to my heart. My parents were very creatively inclined, they still are. And my mother is an ex-professor of fine arts, my father a religious man. So the culture that I grew up in was deeply rooted in human values, but there was a lot of conversation around art, entrepreneurship, believing in yourself and making something for your own self with whatever that is available. As a child born in 80s, in a middle class family, we did not have abundance of a lot of material wealth the way kids have these days. But what we were taught was to really make the best of everything you have and appreciate the small things in life. Life back at home, when I reflect, was very close to culture. I remember spending a lot of time with my grandmother, listening to her stories. Of course, there was no distraction of the digital world and no attraction of doing things on laptops and iPads. And so you could just pretty much just play with, your surroundings, your friends, your extended family. And there was a lot of time to study, play, draw, make art, pause and reflect, and do it over and over and over again every day. And that's the kind of environment I grew up in. My parents taught me a lot about self-determination, the value of hard work, perseverance, and the strength of character are the values that I still take with me in everything I do and everywhere I go. And I think that has led to my growth and my journey in my own life. And cut to as a young adult, design found me. And I always say this, I did not choose design, design chose me. As you can imagine, back in those days, design was really not the most preferred career option for most people who were looking to make a professional life for themselves. But I was very fortunate to then finally study at National Institute of Design. I studied graphic design there. I had the privilege to study with some of the best faculties in this country. And cut to now, I am leading design for PepsiCo India and South Asia. And this is something that I don't take for granted. And yeah, this is something that I enjoy and love doing every day. So let's begin with design because here it's it today. And I'm going to talk about culture and design. Now, design is often seen as a beautiful blend of aesthetics and functionality. One day you could be actually doing the problem solving, and the other day you could just be creating a piece of beauty and desire and aspiration. I think that is what makes design such a beautiful blend of art and business and really trying to create a meaning and impact in this world. Now, talking about problem solving could be very small problems or less complex problems, and they could be very complex problems. So just to give you an example, you could just be designing a symbol or a logo or an identity for an event, for a company. When I started working designing corporate identities. That was a thing back in those days. So it could be a relatively simple problem, or you could be designing a product like a chair or a utensil or a air conditioner. slightly more complex problem because more faculties are involved. It's a 3D structure. It has to be working. People should be able to sit in it. Ergonomics comes into play, and so many other things. Or we could be designing interaction experiences. And a lot of new and young designers I speak to and I meet these days are working in the field of experience and digital design, where you need to understand how people are navigating systems, what is it that they're looking for, and really trying to create experiences that make their life easier on an everyday basis. And then we could also be designing environments. And again, a lot of other dynamics come into play. Now, what you see on this screen is something that we see every day. And this is an example of some of the logos, some of the best and the most powerful logos in the world. You know, Apple, Nike, a very simple, just a symbol, but how they really become an iconic image and symbols of pretty much the whole culture. I want to take a moment and talk about Flota. And again, it's an interesting example of how, when you look at design in a context and a culture, it can have a very long-lasting impact, and it is something that will stay relevant for generations to come. It's a simple utensil. It's shapely spherical utensils. You can use your fingers to fold it. You can make it in different shapes and different sizes, and every size has a different utility. You can use it to store something, so it could work like a canister, it could work like a jug, or you can use it to take bath and store water and make it in a completely different material. You can make it in clay and the water stays cool in it. It's stackable. You can make it in different materials, as I said, copper, steel, again, very relevant. It is also part of a lot of households where they keep it in the holy part of the house. And it has been with our culture for generations and still stays relevant. Very rarely you would find a household where this functional object is not available in some form or the other. And this is a true reflection of how that we try and solve a problem in context to a culture. The design is long lasting and really traverses through generations and people. I think another interesting example, which I find very relevant in this regard, is the Mysore sandal soap. In 1916, the sandalwood in Mysore got overproduced than expected. And that was also the time where in India, people had started to use manufactured soap. So the Ben Maharaja of Mysore decided to use sandalwood as an ingredient in the manufacturing of soaps. Again, an example of using ingenious creativity for the people of a cohort, still very relevant to date. Even the packaging that was initially designed, the packaging that you see in the market today, the red and the blue floral packaging and beautifully wrapped in a butter paper, is something that has stayed for generations because it was something very relevant for the cohort of people, because sandalwood is grown there. It's very locally relevant. People use sandalwood in different ways for their skin, for worship. It holds a great importance in culture. And the design is very relatable in terms of the iconography, the beautiful flora and fauna, the colors people of that region associate with it. So over the generations, it has stayed with it. So in a nutshell, design is for people. There is no design if there is no people. And people are always in a socio-cultural, political, and geographical context. People are expert and savvy, and they are very demanding. And the needs of people are changing every day. And people are very proud of their culture, no matter where you go. And I have had the privilege to travel in India and also outside to some parts of the world. And it amazes me to say that irrespective of how old a person is or where they are from or what language they speak or what they wear, deep down in their hearts, people are proud of their culture. And that is really what makes them unique. And that is what separates them from others. I want to borrow what Walter Lippmann said. Culture is the name for what people are interested in. Their thoughts, their models, the books they read, and the speeches they hear. and who we are is pretty much the sum of all of this. Now, the culture can be two types: a material culture, in terms of the objects we create, the artifacts, the language, how we dress, what we say, what we do, or the non-material culture. This is our beliefs, our rules, what we think is sacred, what we think is okay, what we think is acceptable, what are the sensitivities around something, is all non-material culture that gets built over generations and generations and gets transferred, and we keep imbibing it without even realizing we are. And who we are today and how we live in the society is all reflection of everything that is the reflection of the system that we are a part of. There is also subculture. So the culture can further have their diversification, and it's called subculture, which is all about the rules, symbol, and traditions. For example, the first symbol that you see, it's actually a K-pop symbol for love, but it's such a powerful symbol that is actually relevant in the whole world. So this is a symbol which actually evolved in one culture, but because of the simplicity and the beauty of it, and how everybody is becoming a global citizen now, information travels and cultures and the symbols become culturally relevant in more than one parts of the world. Or the yin-yang symbol, which represents the balance of the two sides. Or even when you look at the image of Gandhi, you think of non-violence, you think of a powerful icon. So this is all about culture. You think of a pabri, you think of a celebration, you think of honor. These are all cultural symbols. You think of rose, and rose could mean different things to different people. But you put a rose there and we know it is about beauty or love or purity or strength. There is some or the other positive connotation to love. Love culture is something that is not evolving. That's not static. It's always evolving. And it is rooted in traditions. This culture is something, as I said, it traverses generations and traverses boundaries and geographies. So it is rooted somewhere. There is a lot of history in culture, but it is always evolving, and culture is always ready to embrace the new, and people are ready to embrace the new. And to truly appreciate design, we need to deep dive into the cultural context that shapes it. Interestingly, brands are actually built on the backbone of culture. Brands for the longest time have taken pride to either associate themselves with the culture, or there are brands which are culture curators, there are brands which are culture creators. And for example, if you look at Netflix, Netflix is pretty much recreating the culture of how you consume television and you consume media. Or you look at Uber and you look at Airbnb, they are pretty much creating the culture of travel and redefining travel for people. And this is how brands take advantage and also build on culture. Brands like Pepsi, they are always at the heart of culture. They are the culture forward brands who are constantly leaning onto the culture and tapping into people's wishes and passion points and taking the culture forward while also taking the brands forward. Getting into the culture is hard, and creating it is even harder. You need a lot of intelligence, imagination, and consistency. I think a lot of most successful brands in the world thrive on all these three. You have to be intelligent, you have to understand the pulse of the people, the culture, the context. You have to use your imagination to really intrigue people, constantly create something exciting for people, relevant for people, and then keep doing it consistently. And as brand custodians and designers, it's our responsibility to deep dive into culture and really understand the people before designing for them, because that is the only way to create something for them that is relevant and desirable. And be always empathetic and culturally connected. With this, I'm gonna go back to some of my work that I have created in past some of the years. And I want to tell a story about 7 Up. Now, 7 Up is a brand that came to India in the late 90s. Of course, a global brand. It's a brand, it's a product which is a clear lemon and lime category product. And recently, we decided to localize this brand because this brand is quite a big brand in the south and west of our country. And we did a lot of localization work on this brand by really elevating and engaging into the culture. Now, India is a very rich and a diverse country, and we decided to make this brand active using the local art, really celebrating the local art and the artists. Now, Durga Puja is a big festival in the least part of our country, and we decided to celebrate Durga Puja with 7 Up for the consumers. We leveraged the Kali Ghat painting style, and we created this beautiful artwork for 7 Up to be leveraged in the markets during the Durga Puja festival, where everybody is celebrating and is in a mood to enjoy and worship the deity and they dress in a certain way. Everybody celebrating their culture. We said, why not 7 Up? And activations like this make our brands very relevant for the people in that culture. You need to constantly participate in people's life, and festivals in a country like India is a big part of doing that. For example, Onam is a 10-day festival. It's a harvest festival in south of India. And it's a festival that is very close to people's hearts. The whole city, the whole state, city celebrates the festival. And they created this beautiful artwork for 7 Up, again, leveraging all the cultural elements of the festival, whether it's a Kathakali dancer or the drummers or the Onam Rangoli that they made, and really created a world, and the Kairia dancers, and created a world where we brought alive the whole festival through our brand for our people. Now, another way in which we can be more relatable to people is by really collaborating with local icons, because icons are part of the culture. And it would not be not an exaggeration to say that cricket is pretty much like a religion in India, and it's really woven into the hearts and minds of Indian people. Cricket is one of the most loved game in this sport in the country. And we worked with the greatest of all times, Dhoni, to really create these limited edition facts on layers, and people absolutely love them. We celebrated Dhoni in all his glory, in all his avatars. He's one of the most versatile sports person that we've had in the country. And this was another way of how we leveraged culture to make our brands be relevant for our people. And that's another way how you can collaborate with local people to create something which is relevant for the local consumer. Last but not the least, in Sri Lanka, we were recently celebrating 125 years of Pepsi Cola, and we collaborated with more than 50 artists and worked on 17 beautiful walls in and around Colombo to celebrate the culture of the country. We pretty much celebrated Sri Lanka in all its glory: the kura, the fauna, the costumes, the traditions, the fashion, the hustle and bustle of everyday life, the beautiful beaches, the beach life, the night life. And this is another way and another example of dreamy narratives that reflects people's experiences, backgrounds, and aspiration is the best way to really make your brand relevant for people. And once you start celebrating who people are and what makes them unique, you really bring your brand closer to people and you end up generating a lot more love for your brand, for your story, for your work. And last but not the least, you should always stay curious, stay connected, because inspiration is all around us.
Thank you so much.